Roblox Jailbreak is over 7 years old at this point, and there are tons of robberies in the game now, and especially now that we have all of these cool robberies in the game like the oil rig, the mansion, and the casino, all of those cool things. I've decided that it's a pretty good time to do a ranking of all of the robberies in the entire game. But yeah, before we get into this, we are doing a free banana card giveaway at 17,000 subscribers, so if you want to be notified of when that happens, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications, so that way it's pretty much impossible for you to miss out on it. So yeah, with that, let's waste no more time here and let's get straight into this. So here in first place, I put the oil rig mainly just because I think it's probably the best robbery in the entire game. Obviously, if you're grinding, it's probably not as good because it does require multiple people, but it is still pretty fun. At the moment, there's only 2 other robberies in the entire game that also feature NPCs. So since the oil rig has NPCs in it, it makes it a little bit more special. And since NPCs are also kind of like players, as in you need to fight them, it does add a little bit of challenge to the oil rig as well. Pretty much all of the other robberies in the entire game is just lasers and jumping over and over again, so actually having to do something and fight NPCs is a really nice change. The pay is also pretty good. It gives you about $8,000 every time you do it, which not a lot of robberies give you that much. So yeah, overall, the oil rig is a pretty unique robbery. You don't really see anything else like that in the game at the moment. But yeah, here in second place, I also have the mansion. It's pretty much for the exact same reason. The mansion is probably one of the most unique robberies in the entire game, and especially since it features pretty much all NPCs, it's just even better. It's also probably the hardest robbery in the entire game, so it adds a lot more challenge to it. And I also like how it only opens in specific conditions, and it also requires the airdrops in order to do. Not only that though, the mansion also gives you the best payment in the entire game, which is $13,000. So overall, it's a pretty good robbery. It's really unique, like I said, and the payment is also pretty good. I also forgot to mention this, but since the CEO is kind of the antagonist of Jailbreak, it does also have some pretty good lore. Most of it doesn't really make much sense, but without it, I don't think we would have gotten this year's live event. So yeah, the mansion does have quite a big role in Jailbreak's story. In third place here, I put the casino because it's also really unique and the payment is also pretty good. Something I really like about the casino is that the code is random each time and the position is also randomized each time as well. The computer you need to hack is also completely random. All of that stuff just makes it a little bit less repetitive. It would have been nice to have a few NPCs in there, but obviously this was added before the NPCs were actually added into the game, so that is understandable. But something I don't really like about the casino is they did just recently update it, so there's not much risk involved anymore. If you guys weren't aware, previously the casino did actually kill you if time ran out and you were still in there, but now it doesn't really do that. It just teleports you out, and that's kind of lame. Probably the biggest challenge about the casino back when it released was actually getting out on time. And now that Badimo has decided to remove that, it kind of ruined the whole challenge of the casino. Like, I still like everything about the robbery, still the randomization and everything is really, really cool, but that challenge is just kind of gone now. But yeah, anyways, coming in fourth place here, we have the museum. Yet again, the museum is one of the best robberies in the entire game in terms of pay, but it does also require multiple people to do. Something that really stops the museum from being higher on this list is just it gets really repetitive over time. It does have a really nice hyperchrome. I like hyper orange level 5, but other than that, the museum is kind of boring nowadays. Really, the only time the museum is fun nowadays is when there's actually cops camping outside and you need to make a way out of there. But yeah, otherwise, it's just kind of like every other robbery in the entire game, but just multiplayer is required. And honestly, after you rob it like 3 to 4 times, you pretty much know everything about the robbery, so there's not really anything else new in there. There's not really any cool strats that you could use or anything like that. It's just kind of there, and like I said, it's pretty boring. In the number 5 spot though, I have the cargo ship. Something that kind of sucks about the cargo ship is it did just get nerfed a couple of months ago, so it's not as overpowered as it once was. But I do believe it's still one of the best robberies in the entire game, paying a total of like $8,000 to $9,000 each time. And the challenge is also pretty good. The rockets constantly being shot at your helicopter is really, really cool. And it's literally the only robbery in the entire game that requires helicopters to rob, so that's another really unique thing about it. In sixth place though, we have the jewelry store. And hot take, but the jewelry store is incredibly overrated. Literally, all you do is stand in there and punch boxes over and over again and do a simple obby for $5,000. It's literally nothing. Honestly, if the jewelry store were to get revamped again, it definitely needs NPCs in it. Maybe what they could do is like move it over to Crater City or something and like name it Crater Jewels and make it owned by the CEO, and there could be like NPCs in there. I'm not too sure. But yeah, the way it is right now is just not really that good. It's incredibly boring. You know, the payment is pretty good, $5,500, but it's just not really that unique at all. And overall, it's probably not a really good robbery anymore. Back in 2017, 2019, and all of those OG years of Jailbreak, it was a pretty good robbery, but nowadays, not so much. Coming in 7th place, though, we have the bank, and it's pretty much for the exact same reason. The amount of money you get for the effort you put in is pretty good. Like, first you have to get a key card, then you have to protect the vault from the cops to make sure you don't get bank busted. I believe each vault pays above $5,500, so the payment is definitely really good, like I said. But just like the jewelry store, it is really, really boring if there aren't any cops in the server, because that's pretty much the whole risk of it. Having to defend the vault from the police officers is probably the main risk of the robbery, and you know, you don't really do anything in the vault anyways, you just stand there. If you really think about it, it's pretty much just a more lame version of the casino, because you go in, you get money by just standing there, and then you go out and the cops could also come in. The bank has also been revamped like countless times over the years, and I'm not really too sure why they didn't like redo the mechanics or something, because you know, it's really boring, like I said. Having to actually like press E to collect your money or something like that, just more interaction would be really, really nice. The way it is right now is fine. It's not really in dire need of a revamp, but if it did get one, then that would be pretty nice. But yeah, the way it is right now is just kind of boring. But yeah, coming in 8th place now, we have the power plant, and I'm pretty sure this is just a trend with all the robberies. Like, there's literally no variation to any of this. There's no randomization except for the puzzles, but even that, it's pretty much the exact same thing every time. There's not really any challenge to it. You pretty much just go in and go out. The payout also kind of depends. If you're good at driving, then chances are you will get a high payout. But yeah, if you're not really that good at driving, then good luck with that. The power plant also has a big issue with camping, since there are a very limited amount of escapes. And honestly, I wouldn't even really consider that a challenge. It's just really annoying. Since the power plant requires you to turn in your money in a specific time, it just gets annoying when you're slowed down. Maybe what Badimo could do to make the power plant a little bit more interesting is just adding extra steps to actually get to the power plant's uranium. I don't really think that exiting the power plant should change in any way, because that's completely perfect right now except for the camping. But I do think there should be some extra steps, like I said, to actually getting into the robbery and getting your payment. Coming in the number 9 spot though, I put the tomb. And while the tomb is definitely really cool when you're robbing it for the first few times, after that it does get quite boring. Just like pretty much all of the robberies on this list below the number 5 spot, there's just no randomization or anything to it. And really the only thing that's different about it each time is the path you choose when you're actually escaping. Other than that, it's pretty much the exact same thing. The payment is definitely really good. It's $8,000. But even then, it takes like literally forever to get in and out of there. It's really annoying. And it's also really annoying for the robbery schedules, because most of the time you're just waiting for it to close. And yeah, overall, there are just so many more issues with the tomb that I just don't really want to mention in this video, because we'd be here forever. But yeah, the tomb definitely needs a couple of improvements in a handful of areas. At number 10 though, I have both of the trains. And really the main reason for this is they're just kind of clunky nowadays. The train is one of those smaller robberies in the game that doesn't really pay you too much, but also doesn't really take that much time. But as of lately, it's just been really clunky, and there's been a lot of glitches with them. Like, for example, the cargo train hitboxes actually suck, and you could turn in your money through the walls. The lasers are also really annoying because they're extremely laggy. And it's also really annoying for the robbery schedules, because it takes forever for them to leave the map and actually progress all of the robberies. Honestly, I think Badimo should just remove the trains from the robbery schedules, because then it should take up less time. And they should also try to fix the bad hitboxes on the cargo train, because it's just straight up annoying. But now at number 11, we have the cargo plane. And again, the cargo plane is a really cool robbery in the game. I love that you have to like board a plane and jump out of it. It's really, really cool. But just like pretty much all of the other robberies on this list, like I said, below the number 5 spot, it does get really repetitive. And the payment is also not so great, so it's not really worth your time. Asima was talking about revamping the cargo plane on Twitter a few weeks ago with NPCs and stuff. He did say that they were really close to doing that a few months ago, but it just never happened, so that definitely really sucks. But yeah, like I said, pretty much the only issues with the cargo plane is just the lack of gameplay and also the lack of challenge. So yeah, if those two problems were to be solved, then it would probably be another really good robbery. At the number 12 spot though, we have the bank truck for obvious reasons. Yet again, it's a really cool idea that just wasn't really executed properly. It's definitely a really cool idea on paper, but you know, once it's actually added to the game, it's not really so good anymore. It was definitely really cool back when it was added, but nowadays it's not really that good anymore. Most of the time, it's just very clunky and buggy, and yeah, there are many issues with it. I've already explained all of those issues countless times at this point. It's pretty clear. But yeah, the bank truck is definitely in need of a major revamp. And finally, in last place, we have the small stores, obviously. Literally, all you do is hold E. You don't even like go into the cash register or anything to like get the money. You just stand there. It's kind of boring. And actually, the payment is surprisingly good for how easy it is. You know, you get like up to $4,000. But yeah, as expected, it is incredibly boring. But yeah, that is my ranking of all of the robberies inside of Roblox Jailbreak right now. If you guys have your own list of what you guys think are the best robberies in the game right now, make sure to put them down below in the comments. But yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.